All right, so let's get right into it. Hey, everybody, Dr. Grant here, and today we're going to be talking about the best ADHD supplements in 2024 that I currently use with my patients and clients and that have been affected for them. So I usually always like to, whenever I'm talking about supplements, it's definitely a great stepping stone, but it's not the be all answer. But it helps get things going initially to helping people with ADHD. But usually lifestyle changes, nutrients are going to be the better long-term solution for people with ADHD. But supplements can definitely be helpful for sure. And so I'm going to go over the ones that I have found past 2023 and moving into 2024 of what I currently use that are really effective for my patients and clients. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first kind of explain really first off, when it comes to ADHD, we got to understand the neurotransmitter pathway. And what I do is do investigative work to understand what are the imbalances in my patients and clients' body chemistry before I decide to add a particular supplement or any kind of treatment. And so first off, looking at the dopamine pathway here, what's going on here? I don't see why my Apple Pencil for some reason is not connecting. It's probably because the battery's low. Of course, it's always low. But yeah, so if you could see in the neurotransmitter pathway, looking at the dopamine pathway, that is the first thing that we have to kind of look at as far as just kind of imbalances go with ADHD. When there's low dopamine or norepinephrine, epinephrine, that's going to impact the stress, but it's also going to impact motivation, drive, focus, and so forth. So very first case study right here is looking at specifically somebody that came in and had a combination of both low tyrosine levels as well as low dopamine levels. And this is very classic ADHD, in my opinion, when I do see both of these numbers being low. But it's probably about, I'd say, maybe 55% of the time that I see this. And so what is a great one to implement that I find that has been effective for 2023, but even moving into 2024, and that I usually like to highly recommend when I see this, is something called Dopa Boost. So the reason why I like recommending something like Dopa Boost is because it has an acetyltyrosine, which is going to help improve the tyrosine levels here. It has mucuna purines, which is something that helps improve dopamine because it's directly L-Dopa, which is the very next step is to help build dopamine. That's why I love this one so much. But also it has vitamin B6, which I find that vitamin B6 is the one that's most deficient and probably the most important B vitamin when it comes to ADHD or just mental health in general, in my opinion, because it helps so many different of these different neurotransmitter pathways throughout, both not just for dopamine, but also for serotonin. So that's why I do love this one so much. And then on top of that, it has green tea extract, which is basically L-theanine. L-theanine is great for all the different neurotransmitter pathways, both GABA, also for dopamine, as well as serotonin. And it's just great for those. So that's why I do highly recommend this one a lot. And I get great results with my patients when I put them on Dopa Boost when we see their levels are deficient like this. Now, another case study, a little different here. You can see that their dopamine levels are fine, but what is not fine is their PEA levels, also known as phenylethylamine. It's hard for me to ever pronounce that. It's just a mouthful, but I also just call it PEA. And why that's so important is because you can see here, it is the very beginning of the dopamine pathway. It's an excitatory neurotransmitter. And if that is not working properly, then it really can impact motivation, drive, and focus. So what we incorporate here is D-L-phenylalanine, because D-L-phenylalanine, that you can see here in the pathway, is the amino acid that helps build PA, also helps build tyrosine, and of course, going to help with improving dopamine levels. So that's why this is very common. I see this out of balance probably about 80% of the time. I'll see these tests come back where it is low. That's because people with ADHD tend to be deficient in usually PEA levels. So then another case here, a little different too, is looking at some of the other neurotransmitters that could be causing different symptoms. And so these ADHD supplements are really great if for someone like in this case, this person with my patient of mine had low norepinephrine, low epinephrine levels, and had low serotonin levels. Okay. So different neurotransmitter pathway, right? So looking at this serotonin pathway, and then of course still this pathway right here that were low significantly. Okay. So with this person, they felt more depressed, but also they had a hard time dealing with stress. And so it really is impacting their focus and motivation at the same time. So what I incorporated here to help improve those levels is adding 5-HTP, L-tryptophan, and L-theanine. So why I incorporated those is because 5-HTP directly helps build serotonin. Same with tryptophan. That's why L-tryptophan. And then L-theanine is really great for norepinephrine and epinephrine. And that's what they were low as well. Okay. So that's what is really great when we see those levels are low. And usually people are going to feel usually more depressed, low mood, motivation, and also stress at the same time when we see these levels are low in that capacity. Okay. Now, what about this case? What if your whole spectrum is all low, which this patient does? I don't see this too often, but it does happen. This person, not only was he feeling depressed, he was also feeling anxious. He was also had lack of motivation, focus, and attentive. I mean, he had it. You named it. He had the issues. And when that happens, usually they need a lot. They need a lot of support. That means they need to add something like Dopa Boost, which we've already talked about, to help with basically the dopamine pathway. They need the D-L-phenylalanine to help with this, with PA levels, L-theanine, which is going to help with dopamine and serotonin, and also GABA, which we just didn't talk about. But this one right here, GABA, does impact mood significantly. And so adding L-theanine, it helps cross the blood-brain barrier to actually increase GABA levels. 5-HTP, again, we've already talked about that, and L-tryptophan because of his low serotonin levels and other low levels. But some additional things, you can see here his glycine levels are low. So we add glycine powder, and then his glutamate levels were low as well. Both of these neurotransmitters right here are very important for the neurotransmitter pathway of building and modulating different neurotransmitters, as well as L-histine, because his histamine levels were also low here. So this is why it's so important to investigate to know exactly which ADHD supplements are going to be best for you. So these are the ones that I've commonly see come up again when we run these tests, but there's different nuances from each person to person. But leading into 2024, I still see that these are definitely more prevalent more than ever. Now, what about looking at other things that could be creeping into the ADHD situation? So it isn't always just neurotransmitters that we have to look at. We got to look at the body as a whole and understand that there is other challenges than just the ADHD brain part of it that can impact the ADHD symptoms. So looking at micronutrients is definitely a big one. People with ADHD tend to be more micronutrient deficient than the average person. So the biggest one I would say is B vitamins. So you can see that this person here had low B vitamin 5. Even vitamin B6 was not the greatest. Their vitamin B3 was low too. All of these were low. So I usually will recommend a B complex. I think it's really good for most ADHD people to be taking a B complex. What I always tend to usually recommend, because I usually see these always deficient. Vitamin D is another one that I find that's very deficient with people with people with ADHD, just like this person was with their vitamin D3 levels being low, as well as vitamin K2. As vitamin K2 levels were low too. And it's good to take vitamin D3 with vitamin K2 to have another fat soluble like vitamin K2 to easily absorb in the body. So these usually when we see this, especially with this patient, they were dealing with more fatigue situation and brain fog, as well as dealing with focus and motivation. And a lot of times it's because of some micronutrient deficiencies that haven't been looked at. Most of you probably have never had a full micronutrient panel tested. And that's why it's important to kind of investigate and understand really what's truly going on. Another big one, I would say this kind of applies more to if you're like 40 and above and older. So this happens to a lot of adults, older adults that have ADHD, is over time, we start depleting in our choline levels. And choline is a very important amino acid for memory. So when it decreases, you might have some memory issues. So adding something like phosphatidylcholine can help improve that, especially when we see it's deficient, just like this patient. Once we implemented this for him, His memory recall, even short-term and long-term memory improved significantly because we found that he was deficient. That was the main culprit in the problem there because we identified that root cause. Another one is also serine, which serine also has a lot to do with memory. And so again, I see this usually as a common problem with usually older adults with ADHD. And so adding something like phosphatidylserine can help improve that. And also CoQ10, just like this patient, their CoQ10 levels were low. This has a lot to do with energy. So providing good ATP production, which ATP production comes from the mitochondria, which is from our cells. It's what basically essentially provides energy for our cells. So if you're dealing with low energy, maybe you have a CoQ10 situation on your hands where it could be deficient. This can make all the difference. Not only help it improve energy, but when you improve the energy situation, it also can improve focus and motivation as well. That's why I talk about it a lot. I don't think a lot of people in the ADHD industry talk about the significance issue that we see with adults with ADHD dealing with fatigue, but I see it time and time again when we address the body as a whole and look at all aspects that could be contributing, causing more ADHD symptoms. And a lot of times is hormones, energy issues, you name it. It can still impact your ADHD significantly. Okay. Another one I think it's good to look at too, that I see this common. We've seen this in research a lot. I've read a lot about it on research, but I also now I'm seeing it more on test results where we do see omegas, especially omega-3s, tend to be depleted with people with ADHD. So with this patient, his EPA levels, so there's EPA and there's DHEA, which are the two different omega-3s. DHEA is more contributed specifically for improvement for the brain. EPA is typically more for cardiovascular, for the heart health. But so I'll see usually a combo of these two, usually being deficient with people with ADHD. So it's good to incorporate omega-3s if you tend to be deficient in it. Now, taking this a little bit different side note here is now looking at hormones that can impact the ADHD brain. And some of the biggest things that I do see is looking at cortisol readings to identify that could be the culprit of your low energy and also your mental focus throughout the day. And so with this patient, their levels were really low first thing in the morning, their cortisol levels. Cortisol has everything to do with energy and managing stress. So when it's low, you're going to feel crappy. You're not have energy in the morning when it's low like that. So what do? Well, I think something like adrenal desiccated for a good 3 months. You don't want to do it longer than that. Just do it for 3 months. Just kind of revitalize the adrenals, and you will see that improve. Now, you could see also that this patient has spiked cortisol the rest of the day. So that happens. Sometimes you're really crappy in the morning, and then middle of the day you feel really stressed and agitated and wired. And that happens. And so what do we do in this situation? Well, you have to look at different herbs or different things that actually lower cortisol. So that's why I like Cortisol Manager because, oh goodness, forgot to charge my Apple Pen. So I got to give it a few seconds for my iPad to charge it. Bear with me. I thought it was charged, but apparently it wasn't. It was taking a holiday break as well, I guess, and it hasn't got enough rest. Okay. So Cortisol Manager. That's why I like this one is because it has ashwagandha in it, which ashwagandha lowers cortisol. We know that through research that ashwagandha does help lower cortisol levels. And there's also things such as like magnolia, other things in this blend that does also help lower cortisol levels, which I do like. So that's why I would incorporate it sometime in here and also at night to kind of help lower those cortisol levels to help you be more relaxed. Other thing that I'll usually use too is like rhodiola. Rhodiola is another great one that lowers cortisol too. So that's another alternative that I might use as well to help improve reducing the cortisol. Now you got to be careful here. If you don't have spiked cortisol, you don't want to be taking these things in the middle of the day. You might feel even having low inner energy, especially if you have low cortisol levels. So this is why it's important to test to identify what are those spikes and dips within your own cortisol. So, and then from here, and of course, with this person, once we implemented these things, not only was their energy improved, but their stress levels improved significantly so that they could focus throughout the day. And that can make all the difference for someone's ADHD. Now, looking at some other hormones too, I think it's important to look at progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, DHEA. With this patient, the progesterone levels were low, so we add natural progesterone cream. So this definitely helped her significantly, not only with her ADHD, but also her moods. Like usually when you see progesterone low, it can definitely impact someone's mood for sure. And then with this patient, both their testosterone and DHEA levels were low. And not only did he have low energy, but it was impacting his focus as well. And so adding something like DHEA to help improve the DHEA levels right here. I do like Testo Gain is another great one. And then Simplex M can help improve testosterone levels. So those are some of the big ones when it comes to hormones that I think are really important to look at when it comes to ADHD, and kind of the best supplements that I've found that have been effective for the many years that I've been using this stuff. Now, digestion should not be overlooked. I think digestion is significantly important because the gut and brain are very interconnected, and the gut is what feeds the body, what feeds the brain, but also people don't realize this 90 to 95% of a lot of our neurotransmitters are made in the gut. So we want to make sure that gut is working properly and functioning properly. And some of the biggest problems I do see is people tend to either have their stomach acidity too low or it's too high. And we'll test for this, but if it's too low, we'll add something like betaine HCl to help break down the foods and increase the stomach acidity, so that way you're breaking the foods properly and it's not causing indigestion or gas and bloating and issues like that can just mess up the gut microbiome and stuff like that. Pancreatic enzymes also is really important to implement over time, especially as we get older. I find this more an issue with adults, that they need to incorporate some pancreatic enzymes to help break down their macronutrients, their proteins, fats, and carbs, so they're actually absorbing and utilizing the foods that they're consuming on a day-to-day basis. Probiotics, another big important one. Sometimes we'll test for this for the gut microbiome, and to make sure that you are getting a good gut microbiome. And so doing probiotics and prebiotics can help improve that, because a lot of our neurotransmitters are made in the gut. If this isn't balanced adequately, it's going to make it very difficult to making those neurotransmitters that are necessary for throughout the body. Now, some additional supplements, that I think are good to just kind of also take note of. When we do see magnesium deficient, it's very common with people with ADHD. So magnesium, zinc, and also iron. If you're deficient in iron, I think that can make a huge difference. And I've seen it time and time again with patients when they are low in iron. Once they supplement it, they find that it gets rid of a lot of their different ADHD symptoms that they were experiencing. Another great one that I do like is ginkgo biloba and bacopa manir. Really great for increasing blood flow to the brain and helping with focus and memory, are some really significant things that can really be impactful for your ADHD. So if you are wanting to find out this information for your own ADHD and your own focus issues, I'd love to help you out. It just requires further investigation on my part to be able to identify what are the imbalances so that we could find the best, not only supplementation plan, but like I was saying at the very beginning, supplements are just a first stepping stone. It actually still requires lifestyle changes, nutrients. But when we can identify the imbalances, then we know exactly what nutrients and lifestyle changes to implement to really make that long lasting results for you for the rest of your life, to having those improvements in your ADHD. So I think you guys, a lot of who are new here, or if you guys have come, know that, I've gone through medical school, spent a lot of time just trying to figure this out on my own, going through medical school and spending well over $500,000 trying to figure this out. But you don't have to do that. I've done that for you. And so what I'm doing is offering is an opportunity to either book with me or book with one of my health experts to book a one-on-one with us. It's a 45-minute one-on-one personal strategy session. It's a $150 value. You also will fill out a very in-depth focused mind questionnaire assessment. This really helps us the ins and outs and finding the blind spots that have been missed in your ADHD health. And so that's a $197 value. You also get access to our nutrition and lifestyle tracking app that we use with all our patients and clients. And that's a $300 value annually that you get access to. And so along with that, if you do purchase today, you also do get our access to our ADHD health course. That's a $597 value. And then on top of that, that whole value is $1,844. But for today, all you got to do is click on the link below, and it's only for $297. So when you click on that link in the description below, once you click there, it'll take you to this page to purchase. Once you have purchased, this is very important. So once you have purchased, you're going to click on this button where it says book now. You'll come to this page, and then you're going to select your practitioner. Now, people know that I'm actually pretty booked out pretty far, but we also do have some health experts that are very well trained that you can actually see starting as early as next week. So you just select who you want to. If you want to wait a little longer, you could still see me. But if you want to be seen sooner, then you could select one of our other health practitioners that can our health experts that can help see you sooner. So you just select the date and time that your preference, and then fill out that information. And then it's very important when you come to this page, this landing page, once you've actually confirmed your appointment, then check your email. Make sure that you got the booking confirmation of the appointment that has the provided Zoom link in it. Also, to activate your Practice Better account, you'll get a second email to activate your Practice Better account. This gives you access to the Nutrition Lifestyle app that you can be implementing right away. It's also where you fill out the client questionnaire. It's also, if you have any labs in the past year, no more than a year, but if you have any just standard labs, this isn't like uploading a bunch of other random stuff, just in this standard labs that we can look over, that we can look at if necessary. It isn't a requirement, but if you have it in the past year, definitely go ahead and send that. And then go ahead and also make sure to block out your time. Block out 45 minutes to an hour. Usually it's just set for 45 minutes, but sometimes if we need to go over, we can, depending if you have more additional questions. So make sure to show up early. And then it's also very important if you do have a partner or significant other, we do require that they're present there, because we do like to understand the outside perspective of your ADHD challenge from a significant other loved one that is going to support you there. So please have them present on the call. We do require that. So when you're booking your date and time, make sure that you both can be present. Okay. So if you are really serious and want to finally make 2024 your year to unlocking your true potential with your ADHD brain, getting rid of those ADHD symptoms, then the best thing is to finally book that consultation with us so that we can finally help you out. So again, just click on that link in the description below, and I will see you guys all on the next live stream. Thanks. Bye.